Greetings everyone, this is the Gardening Snail of Livingston, California. In this video, we're going to talk about how much money was in the bank at the end of January 31st, 2024. But first, we're going to go over the general fund, which is only a fraction of the total city budget, but is the part of the budget over which the city council has the most control. The general fund is the primary operating fund for the city. The general fund pays for many of the critical services offered to the city's residents, including police, city personnel, street maintenance, and recreation services. Development services are primarily funded through permit fees, while recreation user fees help offset the operational costs of the recreation department. A little later on in this video, we'll see just how much the city planned on needing to pull out of the general fund to redirect into the community development fund and the recreation fund. The majority of the remainder services included in the general fund are funded through tax revenues. General fund revenues are generally considered unrestricted and are allocated by the city council through the budget. The general fund is only about 20% of the city's total budget. Most of what gets done in the city is funded by special funds, capital project funds, and enterprise funds. We'll get into those a little more in future videos. Again, I'm going to point out that the general fund is the part of the city's overall budget that the city council can pretty much spend as it sees fit. All the other pieces of the spending pie have various degrees of restrictions or strings attached, depending on where the money comes from. This chart from the budget shows how most of the general fund money comes from taxes, and that most of it gets spent on personnel. General fund money is kept in one of three general fund accounts. The general fund number 1100 is an operating fund used to pay expenses. The economic opportunity fund number 1110 is like a savings account for business development or job creation opportunities. While the revenue stabilization fund number 1115 is like a saving for a rainy day account. However, when the city received $2 million worth of American Rescue Plan money during the COVID pandemic, that money was put in the Revenue Stabilization Fund to be used for a future well project. So when we talk about where the general fund money is expected to go, we're not including that $2 million of COVID-19 money. This is a chart I put together to show how the general fund money for fiscal year 2023-2024 was expected to be split up amongst the city departments. You can see that the lion's share of that nearly $7.5 million went to the police department. And here's the pie chart version showing how much of the general fund was budgeted to end up going towards the police department. Now let's move on to how much money was in the bank at the end of January 2024. As of the end of January 2024, total cash and investments was $40,087,754. Of that, $8,130,175 was in F&M Bank. According to the Cash and Investments Report, as of the end of January 2024, the amount belonging to the general fund was $4,563,024. The deficit in the Community Development Fund has been reduced by about $102,000. The city is still waiting on a reimbursement to cover the deficit in the CDBG Program Income Fund. A reimbursement request has been submitted to the Mental Health and Police in Schools program to cover the deficit in the Mental Health and Police in Schools Fund. And a reimbursement request has been submitted to the state to cover the deficit in the General Capital Projects Grant Fund. That's the fund that is keeping track of what's being spent on the future Recplex project. And the amount remaining in the TCP Settlement Fund is $3,522,004. If you like what I do here, please follow me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget the disclaimer. Editorial content is my own as a long-term resident of Livingston and does not represent the views and opinions of the City Council or the City of Livingston itself, and does not hold itself out to be any kind of legal advice.